Hello everybody and welcome to my channel. Some of you might be new here and some of you might be subscribers and have seen every video on here. And therefore you might know a lot of information already. So I'm going to repeat some of the main points for the people who are watching for the first time. Let me introduce myself first. My name is Maria. I'm a third-year student of WU BBE and I actually finished my third year, so I'm almost a graduate. I just have my thesis to finish and a couple of free electives to complete. And then I will be a full graduate of this program. And I have an Instagram and this YouTube channel dedicated to helping people out who are applying to WU BBE for the first time and are lost what to do, how does it all look like, what to expect, and I help you also prevent some of the silly mistakes students usually do. And let's get started. So today's video will be about the WU BBE entrance exam of 2022, and maybe it will also give you, it will give you a very good representation of what to expect for 2023, because all the online exams and the online exam, like the WU BBE entrance exam was online since 2020, have been more or less of a similar format, similar theme, similar difficulty. It gets a bit more difficult throughout the years, but that's okay. So you will have a good picture for the next year. So first of all, the exam continues to be online. It was online for the first time in 2020 for the pandemic reasons, and also in 2021. And 2022 it was also online because it was just much more convenient for international students to take part in it, and because of the online exam and the students not having to travel to Vienna to spend money to spend 1 or 2 days in Vienna to get a visa and so on, more and more people have started applying to this program because it's very convenient to take the entrance exam in the comfort of your room. And that led to around 2,400 applicants in 2022 for 240 spots. And that's a high competition, I would say. That's around 10 people per spot. And all the statistics you can see how many people applied to each program at WU on their blog post, on their blog. And the links will be down below for the 2022 and 2021. So you can see where I get the numbers from. And the average score to get into this program, the average score you need to score basically on the entrance exam is around 75, 77, up until 80%. And it depends which year people take it and so on. So it's from 75 until 80% is more or less the score that will get you into this program. And the people who got let's say top 3 places score around 91, 92, 93%. That's for reference. Now I will slowly cover the 3 parts of the entrance exam. The 3 parts stay the same. It's English, math, and economics. And yeah, the parts that are included there don't change. So first of all, compared to the other previous year's exams, since these are new and fresh and is supposed to give you a bit of new information, the entrance exam gets a bit more difficult because this program is so popular and it's a very cool program. I can say it, I was almost a graduate, you can believe my words, and everybody loved it so much. They try to transfer from other programs. They try to get accepted to this program. They want to try it out because it's very good. And the 3 parts are usually done as follows. In the English part, you will have a text, which is around, let's say, 3 to 5 medium long paragraphs. And it's related to sustainability and societal problems. For example, for the past 2 years, the text was usually about the COVID and how it impacts the environment in a good and a bad way. So you can expect it to be in a similar field because sustainability is a big topic of the 21st century, and they're trying to raise a well-aware generation of that. So they include the environmental topics even in the entrance exams. And the texts are usually pretty interesting. They're not too academic. They do have some academic words and all. It's going to be business economics related in any way, but it's going to be understandable to read. And everybody who's applying to this program has to have a B2 level of English already. So you should well manage that with that level you have. Then you will have around 5 questions about the text. And each question will be 5 statements, and you need to press true, false, true, false, true, false for each statement. And the questions do not go in order. The first 5 statements do not necessarily have to be about the first paragraph, and so on. And or the last 5 statements don't necessarily have to be about the last paragraph. They can be mixed around the text. So they can probably match sometimes, but please don't expect them. It's not like IELTS or TOEFL exams. Sometimes the statements go as text follows. This is not the case. So you need to really learn how to find info in the text very quickly to answer the questions, because you will have to, throughout solving the questions, you will have to look through all the text, trying to assemble the pieces to answer each statement. And you pay attention to details, to numbers, to synonyms, antonyms, collective nouns, all that. And if something is not mentioned in the text, it's very likely going to be false. And even if you think it seems logically like it's true, but it's nowhere exactly mentioned in the text or like paraphrased, then it's false. So there's no such thing as not mentioned there, as there is in IELTS, for example. But if it's not in the text, then it's false, because you cannot say it's true based on the text. Then after the text, you're going to have 5 to 4 vocabulary questions. And I say 5 to 4 because from 2018 until 2021, there were no grammatical questions whatsoever. But in 2022, it appeared for the first time. And it was a question where you had to basically pick which sentences are grammatically correct or incorrect. It was like one question was pretty doable, pretty easy, nothing like, okay, do this in the right tenses or write a conditional sentence. No, it was like basic knowledge of English. And then you will have the vocabulary questions, which are related to academic vocabulary. I would say some of it is similar to IELTS Part 1, IELTS Academic Part 1 writing task, where you have to describe a graph and its trends. And it's pretty logical for you to know these words, because when you're applying for an economics bachelor, you're going to see a lot of graphs, tables, you need to analyze them, and you need to be able to describe what you're analyzing. So that matches with the whole theme of the program very well. That's for the English part. And it's going to be pretty doable. It's nothing out of this world. Again, it will depend, like, do you know the word or not? If you don't, try to guess it from the context of the text. If you need it, sometimes you will see a hard word, but in the end, it won't even be used in the questions, and you don't even need to know what that word is, so don't panic. And if you have to figure out a word, try your best to guess it out of the context of the sentences around it. That's for the English part, and I think, that's all I wanted to say there. And then the economics part. It's going to be all the questions on the economics part will be based on the book WU provides. It's on their website. It was written by one of the professors of WU, and I had a couple of lectures with her throughout my studies. She's really nice. And that 60 pages or 64 pages, I think, or there are, is all you need for the entrance exam. So memorize that book. Even if you think a detail is not that important, or it's like, okay, this number is just like a number, it probably will be important. For example, how much capital you need to set up a GmbH or an AG company. Some people will say, okay, it's just a number, but it usually gets asked on the entrance exam in one of the statements. And about the numbers, you will have the Tina and Steve example there. You don't need to memorize the numbers of the Tina and Steve example, because it's just an example for you to understand the concepts they're trying to describe. So if it's just a number from an example, you don't need it. If it's a number, like a theoretical number, like capital you need, or the beneficiary inflation, it's like, if it's like a factual number, then you will probably need it for the entrance exam. So please also remember that. Remember the definitions. If you don't know a word from there, please look it up. You have all the time right now. You're watching it when this video comes out. You have a year, and please, or you have a month before exam, it's all enough. I'll underline all the words you don't know and Google them and make sure you know them. So to perfectly understand everything, because some of the things will be briefly mentioned, not in too much detail. So if you need more detail to understand it, please research, do a bit of additional research on your own. And also what happened this year is people from 2021, they had no questions on the accounting chapter, on the last chapter with all the formulas, the balance sheets, the cash flow statement, the different ratios. And we're like, okay, maybe I should not study that chapter for this year, for 2022, because it wasn't last year. So it's all the formulas, it's all the work. Maybe I should not study it. And then I told everybody, please study everything, because they have the right to ask you anything in the book. So if something wasn't last year, or it was last year, it doesn't necessarily mean that it will for sure not be this year, or will for sure be this year, basically. So if there was questions about perfect competition last year, there might be questions about it again, or there might not be questions about it. If there were no questions about accounting last year, this year there might be, and there also might not be. So you never know. So please, it's just 60 pages. It's so easy to learn it. Just diligently work through it and remember all of it and understand all of it. It will be very useful for your first year of studies anyways. The first semester, for sure, most of the subjects you're going to have will be based kind of on the book, on the foundations of the book. So it's going to be helpful. It's going to pay off in the end. So that's how to work with the book. And try to listen to advice from people from last year, but also just learn it all. You won't regret it, trust me. For the math part, on WU's website, and if you talk to people from like previous years, like 2018, 2019, 2020, they all say the exercises are based on Matura. It's the high school leaving exam of Austrian high schoolers. And it's partly true. It is true that all the statements in the questions will be based on the Matura. But the questions themselves are going to be a bit more difficult. So you'll have 5 statements, and I would say each statement will be kind of like a separate task of its own, which you need to calculate separately, like they won't follow each other. For example, if you find the answer to the first question, it might not even be useful for the second statement of the same question. So you be prepared to calculate a lot and to do it fast, because you only have 2 hours as of 2021, 2022 to solve the entrance exam. And that's a bit of a rush. And you cannot use any pen or paper to solve it. You have to use your mouse or the little square on the keyboard to write the notes or write your solutions, or maybe type out the solutions. And I was told that typing out the different formulas on your keyboard on the screen is much faster than just drawing them with the mouse. But that will take time anyways. So you will have like a small white space above the task, which you can use to solve the tasks. And I was told that you cannot erase your solutions or your notes in one click. You have to like drag the eraser around the screen, which will also take even more time. So train yourself in math and calculus. Try to get better at calculating some problems in your head, maybe learning the properties really well, so it becomes more and more automatic and it becomes quicker, since you won't have that much time. Because 2 hours for 3 parts, the way people usually allocate it is, let's say 30 minutes for English, 30 minutes for economics, and then 1 hour for math, because math is the part that gets a bit more and more difficult. So the questions will be based on Matura, like on the theory you need to know for the Matura, but they're going to be a bit more complicated and a bit longer. And because of that, you have to write a lot of calculations, and that complicates things and like gives you less time. And regarding the course, I also prepare for the BBE entrance exam, and I prepare especially for the math part, because that's where students usually struggle the most, since Austrian education system is a bit different from like any other country, as I've experienced. And we're also constantly improving it, and we're adding like more difficult tasks there to get people more and more used to the increasing difficulty of the entrance exam, because the number of applicants also grows. So we try to filter out the top 10% as much as they can. And now a bit of general tips for the entrance exam. Please do not leave out any blank questions. If you're running out of time and you have to guess some of the questions, like the last 2 or 3 questions, please mark either all true or all false to still get partial points. You do not get negative points for questions you get wrong or the statements you get wrong. You only get either 0 points or you get partial points for the questions. And I will explain the partial points grading system quite a few times. I will also explain in the description down below, so don't get confused. But don't leave any questions out blank. Even if you have like 5 minutes left, try to go through all the questions you've missed and answer something there. Maybe guess your intuition, or the easiest is just to mark all the statements either true or false. That's what some people do when they have like 3 minutes until the exam. Don't forget to press the submit button once you're done with the whole exam. Press the submit button so it submits itself, and leave yourself 1 or 2 minutes to do that so it loads up. Because what you don't want to be like nervous about whether they go to your exam or not. So leave yourself 1 minute before the timer runs out, before the 2 hours run out, to press the submit button so it all loads up and you're calm that you submitted it on time, because that's important. Also, regarding time management, and an issue some of the students had is like a brain freeze. When they say difficult task, they try to spend like 10-15 minutes on it to get it right. It's like a perfectionist syndrome, to have all the tasks and to solve all of them. And on an entrance exam, when you have 2 hours and you have 3 parts, it's not going to work like that. You have to forget about your perfectionism and so on, and you have to get as many points as possible. The point of this exam is not to get 100% to get in, is you need to get around, let's say, 80% or even a bit less, like 77% to get in. So your goal is not to solve all the tasks. Your goal is to get as many points as you possibly can to move yourself up the list. So because they're going to accept the top 240 people with the top scores, and then you need to move yourself up, because even 1 point or 0.5 points can make a big difference. And for example, a person with 77% has 240th place, and a person with, let's say, 76% has 364th place. That's a big difference. And try to get as many points as you possibly can to increase your chances. That's what I always tell my students. So try to avoid the brain freeze. I know it's impossible to be perfect, and sometimes stress just overwhelms you, but try to keep like a cold mind for those 2 hours and just try your best to go through it as best as you can. If you see a difficult task, try to solve it for 1-2 minutes. If you can't, mark all statements with the true and false, move on. You just solve as many as you can. Then following that is technical difficulties. I had 3 students of mine who would have gotten accepted, but they were disqualified because of technical difficulties. And I have a video and a post about that. And here are like kind of the newer ones. So of course, like the basic ones, like electricity goes off or Wi-Fi goes off. And please read the instruction of the Weissel platform WU provides on their website to know what to do in those cases, because it's not the end of the world. You can still continue with the entrance exam. But 3 new cases for me were, first of all, one girl, she, after the exam, went through, she passed it, and then she got an email that she's disqualified from the selection procedure because her eyes were like making suspicious movements or like wandering around the room, and they cannot prove if you're cheating or not. So try to glue your eyes to the screen for those 2 hours. If they hurt, close them. Don't do like this, because then they don't know if you have like, I don't know, papyrus paper with all the cheat notes, or you're just like, your eyes are just tired from like staring at the screen for 2 hours. Try to close them, do some kind of eye exercises, but make sure you're kind of looking at the screen. So yeah, try your best to avoid that email, of receiving that email. Then another thing I would like to warn you about is a student of mine, he has like kind of broken his wrist, so it hurt his arm a lot. He's like a professional tennis player, so his wrist was injured. And then he decided, he tried to do it with the mouse, but it hurt too much, so he just was a bit stressed. He's like, okay, I'm gonna get a piece of paper and a pen, I'm gonna do it like that, and whatever happens, happens. And then he got disqualified because they saw him looking down all the time, and they cannot prove it that he was just like writing with a piece of paper and a pen, and not just looking at the math book or whatever, or like a math formula sheet he got. So please, if you have any physical or mental difficulties before the entrance exam, contact the WU BBE team. Their contacts on the WU page under, like, when you scroll down step 2 of the selection procedure, you just scroll down, all the contacts are there. Please, as soon as something happens, contact them beforehand. And of course, provide proof that you're not just like joking about it, like maybe an x-ray or a doctor's note, and then they will try their best to figure something out for you, maybe give you extra time. And then a third case was, even if something works on the mock exam WU provides, and those mock exams are basically short trial tests to get used to the platform, they're not gonna be like a huge, long, like actual exam with just different questions. It's gonna be 3 to 6 questions, and they're there to get you used to the platform itself, so you're not scared or surprised on the day of the actual entrance exam. And please do them, do both of them, please. They're like very important, because one student, his microphone wasn't working on the actual exam, but it was working on all the mock exams. He was calling he emailed the WU IT support, and please write out their email or the contacts on a piece of paper right next to you, because if something happens, you're allowed to contact them, because they will see on the camera that what you're doing, and you're contacting those IT support people. And if something is to happen, write them immediately, don't lose any time, because what happened to him is, even though he did 2 of the mock tests we provided, so he took care of it, that everything works, it was all fine with the platform, his computer was working perfectly fine with it, and then on the day of the actual entrance exam, well, it stopped working. For some reason, his microphone wasn't connecting to the supervision system, so he was emailing them, and they told him that, okay, actually, you didn't do the mock exam, so we cannot do anything about it because you didn't care, so what can we do? Like, you didn't check it beforehand. And then he sent them a screenshot that he actually did those mock exams. You can also take a screenshot like that just in case beforehand. And then they were like, okay, and then we will give you like extra 20 or 15 minutes, but it still wasn't enough to solve the difficulties, because his partner had to come to his place with her laptop, basically. She had to drive it all the way through Vienna to give him her laptop, so it worked. So at this point, after all the technical difficulties that you know that are taking place, I would suggest getting a second laptop by your side. Your brothers, your parents, your friends borrow a laptop just in case for that day, just for those 2 hours. You don't need it for longer. Just in case something goes wrong, so you can try to log it from a different laptop if you can't do anything else, and the WU IT support tells you, okay, we cannot do anything about it, you need like either another laptop, or unfortunately you cannot proceed with the entrance exam. So that's one thing to keep in mind. And then a lot of people are wondering, okay, since the mock exams WU provides are short, they're just for the platform, and there are no past papers of this exam published openly because it's a cumulative exam. It's not like IELTS that everybody takes and just gets a level. It's a cumulative exam, so it's not published anywhere. And they're, okay, but how can I maybe estimate or try to see what to expect there? Well, I have the answer for you. This year I worked on the exam simulation. And that exam simulation is a very good representation of what you will see on the actual entrance exam day. And you can check out all the websites, and all the links will be linked down below in the description box. And it really helped out a lot of people. And I also asked people from the previous years to kind of give me feedback on it. Was it accurate? Was the level of difficulty of the questions like comparable to the entrance exam? And they said it was. Also, you can see all the reviews on it from people who took the entrance exam 2021, 2022. They are there. The reviews are on the website. And yeah, it's a very good opportunity to see what to expect. And right now, I'm also working on a bit harder version of it, since the exam gets more and more difficult and you never know what to expect. So now I'm working on the second version, which is going to be a bit harder, so people can try the normal version, like the easy version, not the easy, but like, yeah, the normal one, the regular, and then they can also have access to like the harder one to see maybe like how they improved, or like how can they deal with like harder tasks, like how much time they need into practice time management. And regarding the online platform, and when you're taking the exam simulation as well, I don't prohibit you from using any pen or paper because I don't supervise you, because there is no point. Like, it's up to you. So you have to be honest with yourself and your level of knowledge. Try to use either Paint in Microsoft, like in Microsoft app, Paint, or try to launch a Zoom conference with yourself and use the draw and type tool there. When you like show your screen, you can draw stuff and you can like type. Try to do that instead of like using pen and paper, because you have to get used to the online platform. WU hasn't yet announced like officially that it's going to be online, but I have like, it's going to appear here. A student he was like on a Q&A session with WU staff, and they told that from now on the exam will be always online in all the following years. So with a 99% probability, the entrance exam of WU BBE in 2023 will also be online and will also be around 2 hours, because before it was 3 hours in 2018 to 2020, it was all great. And from 2021 and 2022, it was just 2 hours. So you can expect it to be also 2 hours in 2023. That's all I wanted to say. And thank you so much for listening. I hope this video was helpful for you. If it was, please leave a comment down below. If you have any questions, you can ask me in the comments, or you can also text me on my Instagram. I'll also answer very quickly there. See ya!